Dear ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce here the contribution of my Ph.D. student Miroslava Dluhošová. My name is Hana Marešová and I am the trainer of Miss Dluhošová. We are from Faculty of Education at Palacky University in Olomouc in the Czech Republic. First of all, let me introduce the topic of our research. Nowadays, we are living in a time of boom of e-learning systems, which are used in teaching at universities or at secondary schools. However, not always can be these tools useful and effective in the process of teaching or learning. Therefore, educators should verify which e-learning systems are the most beneficial in the terms of the current awareness about education. For our research, we have chosen an online educational system based on the principle of social network and 3D virtual reality. Our research aim is an analysis of the e-learning utilization within the area of the mother tongue teaching, which was specified on the usefulness of 3D multi-user virtual environment in the mother tongue teaching. What is a 3D multi-user virtual environment? It is a 3D online virtual world in which you can move as an avatar, which means the virtual figure, and it is possible to communicate here with the people all around the world at the same place in a real time. It is based on the principles of the social network in 3D virtual reality. According to our opinion, by the feeling of the social interaction, it is possible to increase the rate of motivation of students, which appears to be the big advantage of this 3D virtual reality application, at least as a complement to the existing shape of e-learning systems. For our research, 3D multi-user virtual environment Second Life has been chosen as one of the largest projects worldwide. At this picture, you can see the teaching in the simulation of real situation, which is one of the main principles of constructivist pedagogy. The main objective of our research is how much might the 3D virtual environment influence the improvement and efficiency of the mother tongue teaching. For this purpose, the pedagogical experiment has been used. This experiment is based on the comparing of learning results, the traditional method of learning and learning in the 3D virtual environment. In our research, we compare the traditional teaching, which means that the students stayed at the one place in the classroom and are applied the traditional teaching method, like textbooks, and compare with the 3D virtual environment teaching, which means that students weren't needed to be physically present in the classroom. They should be situated in the other cities, state, or even in foreign territories, and they were not limited by the existing area of the classroom. The partial assignments of our research are the following. Compile and assess the current state of knowledge and review of research carried out within the given field. Designation of main problems and the research hypothesis. Propose methods appropriate to solve all partial unclearness of the research. Design the experimental plan and secure suitable conditions how to carry out the experiment. Find the respondents and draw up the experimental and supervising groups. Choose the representative curriculum for its application into experimental testing of the learning methods. Set up the learning materials to satisfy the needs of experiment, which means the learning object for a virtual environment, for the single components of the mother tongue, which means grammar, composition, and the literature. Design and create the 3 didactic tests, again for all the 3 components of the mother tongue, to satisfy the needs of experiment, which will be submitted to the respondents always before and after learning, then verify their validity by means of the expert assessment, and after its first submission to the respondents, correct the assignment of the test and determine the test reliability. Carry out the pedagogic experiment within its all stages. Assess the single didactic tests. Carry out the statistic assessment of experimental outcomes. Carry out the qualitative research examination to find out the respondent's opinion based on the semi-structured query in written. Interpreting of outcomes and the formulation of the research conclusion. And at the end, on the basis of the research outcomes, propose the further scope of investigation for the future possible research examination and the possible impact towards the pedagogical theory and practice. Since we are in the early beginning of the research and in the stage of validation of the research instruments, we have no complex results yet. Therefore, let me describe you briefly the process of the preparation of the research design. The stage of preparation have been carried out since 2013 till the first part of 2014. It was the preparation of learning objects for multi-user virtual environment, development of the didactic tests concerning 3 areas of the mother tongue teaching, which means grammar, composition, and literature, and development of the semi-structured inquiry aiming to the assess of the research participant opinion who took part in the virtual environment learning. In the time of pre-research, it have been prepared 6 learning units for the mother tongue subject, which means grammar, composition, and literature, 1 for the learning in the multi-user virtual environment, 1 for the traditional learning, and both of them were the same content. In the time of pre-research until May 2014, it has been chosen the group of 26 respondents. The students here were divided into subgroups, experimental and control, with number of 13 respondents per each, according to their ICT competencies levels. An experimental group was taught by teaching in online multi-user virtual environment, Second Life, and the control group by traditional learning in the classroom. The results and validation of didactic tests and learning object is currently evaluated. The main research will be started yet this year and will be carried out in years 2014 to 2016. This research will be based on the larger groups of respondents. In the first part of research, it will be at least 9 respondents. Maybe the same number will be included in the last part of research in years 2015-2016. And at the very end, let me conclude that the purpose of our research is to investigate the suitability of its application when teaching the mother tongue. Several 3D virtual learning objects were submitted to the teaching of university students coming from the Department of the Czech Language and Literature. The virtual learning outcomes were compared with the control group learning outcomes, which undergone the traditional learning unit. And this research will be underway in several stages, and the new learning object will be tested and analyzed to find out which one is fit for this way of learning and where the traditional model of learning should be rather preferred. Dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.